It's been a really exciting time in terms of disruptive technologies. We've been used to technologies disrupting routine, manual, and routine cognitive work. We've seen that in our factories, we've seen that in our bank tellers and so on. But what we're not used to is AI and technology disrupting non-routine work, the sort of work that many of us do, either physical work like driving a car or cognitive work. And of course, we're seeing both of those technologies really operating together at the moment. We're all wondering, when are we going to be able to have a driverless car? And we're all wondering, when will ChatGPT or whatever the next iteration is going to change our life? And I have to say that for me as a professor, ChatGPT is very transformational, both in terms of the research we do, but also asking some very important questions about how do we test our students when we think they might be using ChatGPT? Are we talking to a machine? Are we talking to a human? I'm not really particularly worried about that, I have to say, as a professor. But what I do see going ahead is a real phase of augmentation. And all of us, yes, all of us need to learn how to use technology to augment our cognition, our creativity, and so on. And so one of the points that I'm making about the human machine interface is that actually for humans to add more than machines, we have to be very high functioning humans. And it's always good to remember that we have got the history of what happens when technology moves into work. We know that because technology has transformed the way we run our factories, it's transformed the way we run our delivery centers and so on. What happened? Well, there had been a prediction that machines would eradicate work, that there would be mass unemployment. And you've seen that that's not the case. In fact, in most developed countries, we have not enough people rather than too many. So it didn't create mass unemployment. And that's primarily because machines rarely take on a whole job, they just take on bits of it. But this is what's happened, is that when machines start working in a job family, humans do one of two pathways. Either they upskill and become more valuable, and so they get paid more, and they are those complete humans capable of empathy, creativity, and so on, or the machine devalues them and they work more as checkers, delivery checkers, for example. And that means they get paid less. And so there is an argument, and we're seeing this particularly in the US, that the impact of machines is not that you lose your job, but that it's very probable that you get pushed into a lower paid job. What does that mean for us? You have to upskill and reskill your employees, because if you don't do that, they're going to take that slippery path down to lower wages. And that leads to, as you know, massive social disconnect, massive unhappiness, and so on. So upskilling and reskilling becomes very much the heart of the whole automation agenda. So how do we learn about how to use technologies? Well, we learn by experimentation. That's how humans adapt. Each time we run an experiment, we learn more about what people want and how it works out. Because the interesting thing about being a human, by the way, is it's very difficult for us to predict what we want. Humans learn by doing. I know we think of ourselves as being enormously strategic and we can think our way into things. We don't. We do our way into things. We act our way in. And when we act, we either say, whoa, that was great, I'm going to do more of it. Or we say, whoa, that was terrible, I need to do less of it. And so the more that we experiment with ourselves, with our lives, the more you learn what you like and what you don't like. So, as we experiment more and learn by doing and learn what we like and what we don't like, people become what I would call social pioneers. I mean, we're seeing them at the moment, the dads who are taking paternity leave, the people who are taking a sabbatical to to travel around the world. And as they do that, and more of them do that, then norms change. So one of the questions that I ask myself is, how will norms change over the next few decades? That's actually, again, pretty difficult to predict that, but there are some trends. One trend, I think, is about the way that we think about our work life. So when I grew up, work life was in 3 stages: full-time education, full-time work, full-time retirement. So you were educated in your teenagers and early 20s, you worked until you were 60, 65, and then you retired and died at 75. But now that life has extended, and also because technology is changing our world so completely, you're getting a multi-stage life where people are going off and saying, I want to start my own business. I want to have a portfolio. I want to come back into a large company when I'm 40 rather than as a graduate. I want to travel the world when I'm 30 or 60. I want to go back to university when I'm 55. These are all changing norms. And the interesting thing about when norms change is the first off the block is always individuals. It's always you or me who says, I don't really like this. I'm going to do it differently. Individuals experiment. They change their norms. Larger groups then change. Organizations practice changes. Governments change. So they can change very, very quickly, or they can change incredibly slowly. And that's why, from my perspective, I love watching all this stuff, because something exciting is always around the corner.